Yeah.
All right, it's 2:30. We've got outside linebacker special teams coordinator Ricky Brown with us. Scott Wyckoff, you lead us off.
Coach, through this fall camp, what is this personality that's developing for these outside linebackers?
It's a very senior led group, and really proud of going on year three here, getting to be around those guys for such a long period of time. Um, Getting to walk into a room with a young Luke Pierce, a young Dylan Spilios, eventually you get a young Jackson Campbell, and then you bring on from the inside linebacker room a guy like Kenny McShann, to and then Adam Clank coming over as well. Those five individuals are fantastic. They are they are leading from the front. It's really cool to be a part of because every day I tell those guys, they're our best players and they're our hardest workers. And they definitely do it by example. So it's a breath of fresh air to have great senior leadership like that.
And how did they figure it out? I mean, over these 3 years that you've been with them, that you've seen them develop from sophomores now to seniors.
Yeah, just to talk about a guy like Luke Pierce, I think um, maybe like in 2023, like a couple times, I'm guessing he probably weighed like 194 pounds, and he's like playing in the American Conference, and like, am I going to get like Child Protective Services called on this kid being out there playing Raider like this? But to the kid's credit, each year he's just put on 15 pounds each year, so I mean, just really taking care of his body. Um, all of the guys, they're definitely drinking the Kool-Aid that you only get one body and you got to take care of it. So not only have they matured physically, but they've matured kind of emotionally, leadership wise, all that stuff. I mean, no one's career is a smooth trajectory upwards. There's peaks, there's valleys, and there's everything in between. And for those guys to be able to comment on that, like a guy like Jackson Campbell, um, who moved to striker right at the very end of spring ball in 23, and he's got a ton of high hopes for him to maybe be a starter in 23 and for him not to play as a striker in 2023 and for him to go through that, and then for him to be able to talk to the young guys, about having that humble pie and having to keep showing up every day ready to work. That is like football 101. Like, the adversity, it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when. That adversity is definitely coming your way. And to have those old guys be able to handle the their adversity and then talk on it to the young guys is really great for the room.
What was your real goal with this group during fall camp? And are you happy with how they went after that over the course of the camp?
Yeah. Um, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. You're never staying the same. And those guys know that. We were talking today, and I said, find a harder worker than those guys. And if you think you're a harder worker, raise your hand. And all the young guys haven't done that yet, but it's really good to see them um, get to see, the old guys not quote unquote taking it easy, because you just can't do that in this game. You're either getting better, you're getting worse. You will never stay the same. And that part, having your oldest guys be your hardest workers, be your leaders, that's fantastic for those young guys to see. And with those young guys being able to see that every day, then they can elevate their game.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Joe Miller.
Yeah, Coach, I was talking to Kenny at Media Day, and it was interesting just the talking about juggling his time with Jackson last year. Jackson starting the season, Kenny coming in at the back end of the season as your starter, but they generally seemed like they cared about each other's playing time. It was like they're not. It's not a competition between those guys. They are both talking about how we try to improve each day. between the two of us, what does it say about those guys and sort of like the culture that you have that's the conversation? Like I'm trying to build him up to be better, and likewise with two guys competing for the same spot and for snaps on the field.
Yeah, you need to have a healthy room, and you know, the power of your room, the power of your unit is really the thing that's going to keep you together when adversity strikes. And those guys aren't competing against each other, they're competing with each other. And my message to those guys is like, fellas, like you need to coach yourselves and you need to coach the other guys as well. And when you're being, when player A is being coached by player B, you have to trust that guy has your best interest in mind. And it's not like, oh, I'm not gonna stockpile this information and keep it to myself so I can play. Like I'm gonna try for the good of the order to make every player better and teach it. Because really, like when you teach it, the teacher's the one who learns it probably the most. Um, so that part's been really cool um, with Jackson and with Kenny. Both those guys, you feel fantastic um, when they're in the game, but you feel fantastic like when they talk in the room. I mean, they've on days where they don't think the standard was upheld, like they're going to say something about it,
Yeah.
and that part's fantastic because they're giving their 2 cents, but it's coming from a spot where like no one's working harder than them.
From the special teams perspective, especially when you look at coverage. I was out of practice the other day, and it's just, you guys were working on some things, but what are you looking for? I find it fascinating from trying to find guys on coverage. What are you looking for in an individual to cover kicks and punts?
Yeah. Um, for kickoffs, you have to be able to run and you have to be able to hit and you have to like doing it. You know, not everybody who plays the game of football absolutely loves to hit. All right. And I think that's a travesty. But more times than not, a lot of those guys find their way off of kickoff unit. The dudes that are about it and the dudes that are willing to run down and run fast, hit hard, those guys end up having a fantastic shot to be on the coverage units.
Has some of the tracking stuff, I know you guys use Catapult in the past, but has that helped things try to pare down? Like this guy's big and this guy's fast, and has that helped some of the analytics? Has that helped you as a special teams coordinator?
Yeah, no, it's all the analytics are fantastic. Like as you look at like gunners and you look at guys on kickoff, I mean, it is amazing how like accurate those things are. And you have to use the numbers because the numbers are the numbers and like they're not going away. But kind of since the beginning of time, you could have the fastest person on the planet, but if he doesn't check that willing to hit box, you're going to be crying on that Saturday.
um, Speaking of the gunner, we talk about Rayon losing him from the defensive perspective, but I remember a game I think it was the Rice game where they did something special and they kind of took him out of the game and you guys had to readjust to it. And now with not having him around on the special teams, how do you replace it from the special teams dynamic?
Yeah, Ray is it's like Ray's. I'm not sure if it was his first rep or his second rep that he was in there for Jacksonville. And in the NFL, if you're a really good gunner, you're going to get a double. If you don't get a double, then you're probably not going to be a gunner playing in the NFL. But so they doubled Ray. He beat the first guy inside. He stacked the second dude, and like he ran down and made a great tackle. And we it it happened, and the guys were like on their phones probably like 10 minutes before Coach Newberry's team meeting. And like the buzz in the room was fantastic. Like the guys were just hooting and hollering. They were all passing their phones around. And then a couple days later is when we get a chance to like, get all the NFL cut ups and everything. So we went and found that clip, and then we led off the meeting with Ray's big time tackle beating the double team. So the guys were all fired up. Um, he is an absolute stud human being. Like he's going to be very, very, very successful. I think he's going to play for a very long time. But I mean, when he retires, he's going to be successful. He's an absolute stud. The only bigger stud are his mom and dad. They're they're fantastic people. Um, I always went up to his dad and I'm like, shoot, man, you've done a pretty good job. If you want to raise 3 more kids, I can lend my kids to you because you did a pretty darn good job.
Thanks,
But
Coach.
yeah, yeah,
Wags.
So who is going to replace Ray as the primary gunner?
yeah. So at that right gunner, we've had a bunch of guys. We've had Phil Hamilton, we've had Nick Bell, we've had Justin Ross, we've had Bryce Allen. Like we have a bunch of those guys that are doing a really nice job. You know, Coach Okitis and Coach Green have been coaching those gunners up since I've been here, and they're doing a really good job. Um, One of the cool things is just all the different situational deals that come up with Gunner, and they've just, I mean, on the field, whether it's Coach O, whether it's Coach Green, like they're on those guys, and like as soon as the situation deal pops up, they're sitting there coaching them up 100 miles an hour, telling them exactly what they're looking at. So like that part's been really good, and I'm excited to watch those guys continue to compete and get out on the field.
While we're on the topic of special teams, obviously you've got a big shoes to fill with Riley Reithman graduating. He was a record-setting punter here. How is Jacob Carlson doing? Do you feel good about Jacob Carlson where he's at, or is it still a competition at punter?
Yeah, Jacob Wilson is doing a really nice job. I think he's a very hard worker. He takes things very seriously. Um, Stephen Glenn, another good senior leader for us. I think he's bringing some good depth there. A bunch of guys have really been doing a nice job there. But like, I think, everyone's challenge when you lose a record-setting punter, when you lose uh, uh, a draft pick that played gunner, like you don't want to have any type of law. You want to just replace them and have everything keep ticking. And that's easier said than done. But like the health of the team in terms of proud guys that are competing at those positions. And I think they really, really, really don't want to be responsible for having void on our coverage unit. They've been attacking it daily.
I think we're having some internet problems, Coach. You want to maybe disconnect and
And
try to
it's been fun
reconnect?
to watch those guys.
Well, I'd asked about Jacob Carlson and whether, how he's coming along as the replacement for Riley Reithman.
Yeah. Jacob's doing a great job. Stephen Glenn's doing a great job. We got a bunch of guys kind of really competing because anytime you lose that senior production, whether it's Riley as a punter, whether it's Ray as a gunner, those are deals where the next man up takes an enormous amount of pride in not letting there be a dip in production. So those guys are competing their butts off. Really good esprit de corps kind of within the specialists, um, you know, of supporting each other, of trying to pull the best out of each other. Why? Because we don't want to have a dip between Riley Reithman and the next man up, or Ray Lane and the next man up. So it's it's been good. Like the guys in camp have been having fun competing with each other, so it's been a good deal.
And are you seeing Nathan Kirkwood improve as a kicker?
Yeah. No, Nate, the biggest thing that he did this past off season was he committed himself in the weight room. And in that weight room, he developed a ton of lower body strength and he developed a ton of core strength. And his contact's been great. All right. And with that great contact and that consistent contact and some of that consistent power, obviously confidence is going to be bred like that. So we're excited for Nate as he goes into his, you know, senior year. And then Lance Gossett's done a nice job. All of those different pieces kind of building, like I talked about, the esprit de corps kind of within the specialist unit. Like we got a bunch of good dudes that are super supportive of each other, and they're all each other's biggest fans, and they're all competing, but they're very supportive of each other, trying to give each other, those little like kicker isms, you know, about do this, do that. So they all trust each other. So it's been going really well.
In terms of the striker position, it's almost like you have two different types of players there in McShann and Jackson Campbell. Would that be accurate? I mean, it seems like Jackson's more the coverage guy, and maybe Kenny's more the run stopper guy. I mean, Kenny's a bigger, stronger. Jackson's maybe a little more athletic. I mean, do you feel like you kind of got a two-headed monster there?
You know what? Like I kind of feel like I got a 1A and a 1A. I mean, those guys are just stud human beings. They're really good friends. They're super supportive of each other. Um, you know, I, I I always say this. I'm like Kenny McShann has to have like a top three hardest head on our team. I mean, he's a knockback dude. But like to Kenny's credit, he's like, and Coach Newberry said this probably about a week and a half ago. He's like Kenny McShann just seems to be getting faster. I'm like, Coach, he's dialed in with his body, you know, on like the off day. He like uses the off day to make his body better for the next day of practice. Like he's completely bought into having a great senior year. And that's exactly what Jackson Campbell, Jackson Campbell, probably if Kenny and Jackson run a 40, I think Jackson might get Kenny, but like Kenny's acceleration has gotten way better. And Jackson's not just a fast runaround guy. Jackson got into the weight room this offseason and he's improved his play strength. Like, couldn't be more excited about those guys.
And do you see Luke Pierce taking his game to another level here as a senior? He's, like you mentioned, he's played a lot of snaps and he's gotten bigger and stronger as the years have gone along.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's like in like the world of NIL and kids leaving and playing at 4 schools in 4 years or, 5 schools in 8 years. Like what are we talking about? Like he's like a guy I would have played with at Boston College that, and like all the guys here are guys I would have played with at Boston College because you get to have those relationships for 4 years and you get to see them incrementally develop and build their body, build their game, grow as people, you know. That's an absolute thrill and a joy to be around is watch these guys kind of transform themselves. And when I got here, it was like halfway through, Pyrrhus, Spilios, um, those guys were like plebes and they were going in their first spring ball. So it's cool to like see them and see them kind of grow.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, thank you.
Coach Brown, going back to the kickoff team, did you know that Landon was going to be a great player when he begged to be on the kickoff team as a backup nose guard in his sophomore year? And you gave him a metric to hit, which was 20 miles an hour on the GPS, and he hit it, and he ended up starting on the kickoff team.
Oh, I mean, he was just like, you know, Landon Robinson's one of the most impressive people I've ever been around. Um, and maybe I'm biased because he's from Ohio, but he could have been from any of the other 49 states, and I'd probably like him just as much. He's 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 such a stud human being on and off the field. To me, just a super consistent person. And football is a game of trust. And whatever you gave Landon from a job standpoint, you knew he was going to champion it, and you knew you could trust him on it. So for him, like like we're sitting there watching kickoff tape, Coach Okadis and I, and we're like, 96 is a stud, man. Like he is rolling down. He's physical. He's trying to do everything Coach Yo is coaching him to do. And then that kickoff against Notre Dame happens, and we were on KOR to start the game, but I think it was our first kickoff. And Landon just ran downfield and just strike, run, shed at the guy and just kind of knocked him into the ball carrier. And you're like, 96 means business here. This is a good deal. So he's a stud.
What did you pick up, what did you take from being a player at Boston College with the Raiders? What did you take from that into your coaching?
Just and I tell the guys all the time, I'm like, my my words of advice as a saint come from my experiences as a sinner. Like I burned my hand on the oven plenty of times, and it's like you're a freshman, you're a sophomore in college, and you just don't know the speed and the rate at which football is conducted, and you don't know how urgent you have to be in taking care of your body, in preparing on film, in not being an error repeater. And you always think you're going to be okay and this, that, the other. But like the guys that really play at a high level are the ones that figure it out super fast. And, my first 2 years in college, in my opinion, I think I drastically underachieved. So it's always good to like tell those stories to the guys. Like, yeah, I was a freshman and a sophomore, and I got on the field. But I'll tell you this: I really sucked because I didn't. I can say it was my world, but it really wasn't my world. Like I didn't know my job so well that I could not get it wrong. And just being able to tell those guys those things. Now, back in college when I played, it's like you had a 4-year scholarship, so they could tolerate you being a young kind of slap. But you go to the NFL and you don't do your job, they're just gonna
Next.
they're gonna ask for your playbook. So I had to figure that out quick.
And finally, you were mic'd up by Navy football earlier this week at a practice that has since run. Did you watch it? What did you think?
Oh yeah, Ronnie Gillis definitely wanted to show it to me before it went on. Um, so he showed it to me. It was good. It's always fun. Those microphone deals are falling all over the place, and it's it's kind of a pain, but Ronnie did a great job with it.
I thought it was some of the best content they put out this fall. And there's been a lot of great content, but that's my favorite.
Yeah.
All right. We appreciate it, Coach. We'll let you go back to watching film. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Have a good one.